Hello, I'm Giselle Gamby, host of the Intuitive Pool podcast and business and life coach. My coaching business has consistently brought in $500,000 in revenue for the past 10 years, not from any external strategy, but from being the intuitive entrepreneur. Having worked strategy first, as most people do, with little results, I know that authenticity is profitable, and the deeper you go, the greater your wealth always. And so this podcast is here for you if you desire more, deserve more, and are called into more in relation to your wellness and purpose, business and career, finances, relationships, and health. If you're stuck, feel like you've lost your mojo, and equally if you're doing really well, but you know that you and your life could be so much bigger, so much more purposeful, and so much more impactful. Join myself and my guests as we explore 2024's theme, Untapped Abundance. I love creating ripples, and so here's to creating even more ripples this year for this wonderful Intuitive Pool community. Hello, Intuitive Pool community. It is very exciting to be with you today for a few reasons. But before I go into that, I just want to begin with this. I recorded 3 podcast episodes a couple of weeks ago that I made into a 3-part leadership series. That was only 2 weeks ago. And yet to me, it feels like it was at least a month ago, because I have been in what you could call an incubator. An incubator presencing information that I've been receiving through several downloads, truly devoted. Truly, it's been a period of devotion to receiving the gold out of these downloads, and then the translation of what it means into my leadership. And so I'm excited today because I now have that translation. And as I said, devotional, being devotional has really been the theme for me this year. I've been devoted to feeling into not only the depth of my leadership, but the breadth of my leadership. And I'm so grateful that I have this ability to be connected, as we all do, by the way, where I'm hearing information and receiving its meaning and receiving its translation. And if I was to summarize the main pieces that I have received in the last month, they have been to these points. First of all, to lean into the particular vulnerability of being in our gifts, strengths, and talents, rather than leaning into the vulnerability of our smallness and limitations. I'll just say that again. Leaning into the particular vulnerability of being in our gifts, strengths, and talents, rather than leaning into the vulnerability of our smallness and limitations. So that's been number 1. Number 2 was that, really hard-hitting download that said sometimes we can subtly slip into a paradigm of making good enough to be good enough. And that was a polite or not so polite kick up the derriere. And then the third one, which has really allowed me to put all of this together, is around I don't even know if it's an invitation. Again, sometimes I feel the energy of being demanded, like we are being demanded. So we're being demanded to mission up because we have important work to do. Now, all of those pieces have now translated into something, and I'm super duper excited to announce today on the Intuitive Pool podcast that I have a new program, a program that was not on the books. It was a plan that I didn't make. And as I often talk to on this podcast, the premise that love has bigger plans for us than the plans we've made for ourselves, this is absolutely to that point. Never in my field of awareness did this consciously exist in myself up until the last couple of weeks, where as I said, it's like I've funneled all of the information that I've been receiving, funneled it into something that I can now see. I feel very honored to hold. Like several times over the weekend when I was with this program, I teared up. I feel like it's a massive privilege to hold. And I know this is me being missioned up, and it's me being missioned up so that I can mission you up. And the reason is because we have important work to do. So announcing the new Sacred Leaders Group Program, you will hear who this is for very, very clearly. I have a very strong knowing that listeners of the Intuitive Pool community are the people that this download is speaking to, are the people that this program is for. It's a group program. It will be held online so that it's really accessible for anyone around the globe. It's also accessible in terms of fee, and it has a big, big mission. And I'm wondering what's been going on in your worlds. Because if this has been going on in my world, I have also a strong feeling that you too have sensed that there is more for you this year, more for you to step into. And I have a feeling that whether you have clarity already or it has simply been a sense, I have a really strong feeling that you too have felt this sense of being missioned up. Maybe you didn't use that phrase. I've certainly not used the words being missioned up before. But maybe it feels that way to you too. I'm really curious. I feel there's a lot going on in the field right now. I feel like we are being shaken and stirred. And I also feel for the people who have done the work, which I know the people in the Intuitive Pool community have done the work and are committed to doing the work and continuing to do the work. Yeah, I have a real strong feeling that what's been going on in my world around being missioned up, around being called to stand taller and take our place even more greatly, I have a strong feeling that that's been going on in your world too. And not to say that tension is not part of that. So I'm acknowledging that there is tension and acknowledging that I know that there's tension that people have been feeling. So I'm excited for this episode. So without going into the details of this program, what I do want to do is I do want to read to you the download that pulled all of this together, that pulled a great calling that I had at the end of last year, which was, I have such a longing to create more and more and more ripples. And how can I do that? Well, I have such a longing to grow the divine ecosystem that has been generated over the last 20 years. I've been coaching and facilitating over the last 20 years, and I'd say particularly over the last 10 years. This divine ecosystem, this community, which I call this divine ecosystem, is so rich, and in community, in friendship, in collaboration, in results. And I have such a longing. It like literally courses through my body when I speak this out. I have such a longing to create even more and more and more ripples. And thank you that I now am able to do that, because I have received an intuitive calling to be in my sacred leadership with more people so that they can be in theirs too. So let me read to you the download. And as I read to you, I would love for you to be very present, to be very open, to have your emotional and feeling body on and ready, and to suspend judgment, to have a level of emptiness that can receive these words. And if these words are for you, let them activate you. Let them activate you. So here we go. There are people who know they have gifts. There are people who know they have gifts, who lead their life from their gifts, and who are going deeper with the gifts they have already embodied, because they know there is so much more. There are people who recognize themselves as having strong levels of emotional, spiritual, and professional maturity. They're proud of who they've become. They're proud of the transformation they've experienced. They're proud of the impact they've made. And they know there is so much more of who they are to step into, lead, and create ripples from. They want to squeeze every drop out of life. And when it's time to leave this life, to know they have zero regret. They gave it their all. They lived their biggest, most authentic and meaningful life. And as a result, they touched the lives of many. They fulfilled their soul contract. Having said that, even though they've experienced truly life-changing transformation, they haven't fully handed themselves over to this mission. There's more. And even though they've achieved so much, they notice times where they subtly slip into a paradigm of making good enough to be good enough. Responsibility, expectation, roles, identities, habits, and even where they live can be acts of subterfuge that dim their light. And even though so much has changed for the better, truly more than they could ever have imagined, there are times when it still feels like they're living on a knife's edge. And in those times when it still feels like they're living on a knife's edge, it can be tiring. Stories around capacity, capability, and money are the undynamic trio here. The ones that bite them on the arse. I'll say that again. Stories around capacity, capability, and money are the undynamic trio here, the ones that bite them on the arse. They feel rich in spirit, rich in experience, rich in wisdom, but also different volumes of constriction. Sometimes they can bear it, and other times it feels like things will spiral and it feels overwhelming. Because they have that emotional, spiritual, and professional maturity, they're not a babe out of the woods. The wisdom they have is because they've made a life devoted to leading from their gifts, and I honour them for that. And for some, time is no longer on their side, as it once was when they were in their 20s and 30s and even early 40s, and that's the hard truth. Some have taken a moment to take stock and recognise they're running out of time. They're running out of time to fully and completely, with gusto and no holding back, live the life that not only they've been called to live, but have promised themselves to do so. And I have a special perspective to offer them regarding this concept of time. Standing on the shoulders of all the work they have done and the impact they've made already, this is their golden era. Every time I say that, I just get shiny eyes. standing on the shoulders of all the work they have done and the impact they've made already. This is their golden era, a new era of sacred leadership where they are being missioned up because they have important work to do. Some may even consider themselves in the lead up or, indeed, on the doorstep of eldership. This golden era is one that up until now has insisted upon patience, on undoing, on untangling, on creating space, on remembering and reforming, so that this can be their finest hour. In their finest hour, mechanistic tools and strategies are put down in the first instance, and harmonic instruments of peace are prioritised, given breathing space, airtime, and shared in communion with others, just as I'm doing here with you. Resisting being missioned up into the important work they have to do is being in denial of the rhythm of life and pushing back on what feels to me to be a tidal force that clearly wants them to move in the direction of this new era of sacred leadership. It's like love is saying, get with the program and nothing but. Yes, it can feel uncomfortable. Yes, it can feel frustrating. Yes, it can even feel exhilarating too. And yes, the unknown and the unclear can feel disorientating, frightening even. I know, because I have felt all of this. Recently, I felt a shyness within me. My throat has also felt on fire, sore, and what I perceived as being closed. Until I realised that my throat was not in fact closed. It is wanting to become a loudspeaker. A loudspeaker in service to those who have emotional, spiritual, and professional maturity, who have done the work and reaped its rewards, who don't have time on their side, and have an undeniable desire to fulfill the contract they made with themselves. A loudspeaker to let them know that this is their golden era, their finest hour yet to come. A loudspeaker to remind them that discomfort is in fact hugely constructive because there is hunger there. A loudspeaker to welcome the appetite of hunger, because hunger is devotional and urgency is legitimate. A loudspeaker that honours who they already are and who they are to become, that recognises the offspring of this union are miracles upon miracles. Sacred leadership has no prejudice as to how it's applied, because love knows no bounds. Medicine, politics, law, family, money, community, business, philanthropy, the environment, AI, divorce, death, cancer, trauma, war, bankruptcy. Sacred leadership asks them to be the light where it does not exist or does not yet exist fully. Sacred leadership asks them to bring new perspectives that open us up rather than have us contract into fear and impossibility. Sacred leadership asks them to create and innovate in service not only to the possibility but to the reality of freedom, love, authenticity, connection, joy, peace, compassion, understanding, and happiness regardless of its subject matter. And because of their maturity, this new era of sacred leadership is emboldening them to shine their light brighter than they have ever given themselves permission. All of this recognition is homing ground to enter into a new era of sacred leadership. This new era of sacred leadership is where the promise of a life lived with no regrets arrives, because they leave no stone unturned. They courageously walk into the shadowy parts of themselves, meet their blind spots and thresholds, and return it all back to love and freedom and deeper leadership. This new era of sacred leadership now asks them to lean into the particular vulnerability of leading from their gifts, strengths, and talents, more so than the vulnerability of their limitations and smallness. This new era of sacred leadership beckons them to not cut themselves short because of doubt, wondering if their leadership will be received, and because of resistance to live in the abundance of their leadership when others are currently suffering. I'm all of the people that I've just spoken to, and as I see myself, I hold out the mirror for you. And so that download informed me of a plan that I didn't make. It informed me. It actually missioned me up. It missioned me up to also work with people who have done the work, who have emotional, spiritual, and professional maturity, who have lived a life that they're proud of, who have made great impact already, and they know there is much more. And with the nuance of time not necessarily being on their side. And so, as I said, I have teared up quite often as I've accepted this mission, if you like. I feel it to be a great privilege, a great joy. I see miracles upon miracles unfolding. I see them unfolding from the get-go. And so how this will work is we will come together for either 3, 6, or 9 months, whatever you prefer. We will come together in group online on Zoom. From the 1st of May, every month, we will come together twice. And in those 2 sessions on Zoom, there will be a mixture of teaching, meditation, process work, all in the name of up-leveling you, all in the name of missioning you up because you have important work to do, all in the name of not only going deeper into your own sacred leadership, but also choosing breadth, choosing to influence even more people than you already have, choosing to share your love with even more people than you already have. There will also be a 3rd session every month, which will be optional, and I'm calling it an open mic session. An open mic session to allow people to come forward and share their own sacred leadership in the company of others and be witnessed for that. An open mic session to share inner wins and also tangible wins to celebrate. And an open mic session to also ask for support when support is needed, to put your hand up and say, hey, can I have some help? So there will also be the opportunity for hot seats. We will start on the 1st of May. I have scheduled the sessions both in the morning and in the afternoon so that I'm capturing different time zones. And as I said, I love the idea that you can choose to give yourself the whole thing, the whole 9 months right up front. Or if you'd prefer to start for 3 months, or even give yourself 3 months, if that's all that you need, there's the option to do that too. So 3, 6, or 9 months. I have devoted my time, my energy, my focus, my love to curating and creating this program. I'm super proud to put a link in the show notes to the Sacred Leaders Group program page on my website. Please go and feel it out for yourself. There's also a video up front where I speak from my heart to you. And I'm also super proud of getting a little bit more technological. You can buy the program, you can register, you can enroll straight through the website. If you feel like having a chat to me, I'm always open for that. Please send me an email or through Messenger on Facebook. My arms are wide open. I have complete trust and faith in who will arrive into this program. And I should also mention that I have a founding rate for this program. So there are 3 rates. There's a founding rate, an early bird rate, and then the regular rate going forward. Because I'm launching this for the first time, I'm honouring it with a founding rate. If you would like to take advantage of that founding rate, you can do so as long as you register and pay your first instalment, or if you want to pay for the 9 months up front, there's also a special fee for that. As long as you do that by the 31st of March, the founding rate is available until the 31st of March. Then we go to an early bird rate. That's available until the 12th of April. From the 13th of April onwards, the regular rate will be available. I really, really look forward if this program has spoken to you when you go to the website, if the program speaks to you, pulls you in, really pulls you in. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be, not only excited actually, I feel a huge privilege and honor to be working with you for 3, 6, or 9 months. Let's create some magic together. Ciao, ciao. Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you'll be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.